You're walking home. It's almost midnight. The streets are quiet. Without even thinking, you quietly say, "Come on, you've got this." Nobody is walking beside you. Nobody heard you. So, who are you talking to? Most people think talking to yourself is strange. Some even think it means something is wrong with you. But science tells a very different story. The answer didn't start with psychology. It didn't even start with language. It started long before cities, long before history, back when staying alive depended on the choices you made inside your own mind. And here's the strange part. That same survival system is still speaking inside your head today. To understand why, we have to go back to a time when every decision could mean the difference between life and death. To understand why, we have to go back to a time when every decision could mean the difference between life and death. Most people think talking to yourself is something strange. Some people even feel embarrassed when they catch themselves doing it. But here's the question. If talking to yourself is so strange, why do almost all of us do it? Think about your day. Maybe you said, "Don't forget your keys," or "I can do this." Or maybe, "What was I about to do?" You weren't talking to another person. You were talking to yourself. And the strange part is, your brain wasn't making a mistake. It was doing exactly what it was designed to do. For a long time, scientists believed that talking to yourself was nothing more than random thoughts escaping into words. But the more they studied the human brain, the more they realized something surprising. Your inner voice isn't just a voice, it's a tool that helps you remember, plan, solve problems, control emotions, and even make better decisions. Think about that for a second. If this ability didn't help our ancestors survive, evolution would have slowly removed it over thousands of generations, but it didn't. Instead, almost every human on Earth still has it. So the real question isn't, why do you talk to yourself? The real question is, why did evolution spend hundreds of thousands of years making sure you never stopped? And to answer that, we need to leave the modern world behind. No cities, no phones, no schools, no roads, just a small group of humans standing around a fire as darkness slowly takes over the world. Close your eyes for a second. Now imagine the world 100,000 years ago. No houses, no streetlights, no police, no hospitals. Just endless forests, open grasslands, and a small group of humans trying to survive one more night. Here's where it gets strange. During the day, humans had one big advantage. They could see. They could spot danger from far away. They could find food. They could watch each other's backs. Daylight gave them control. But everything changed after sunset. The world didn't become more dangerous. It became harder to understand. Every shadow looked bigger. Every sound felt closer. Every movement could mean trouble. Think about that for a second. You don't have to see a predator. You only have to believe one might be there. And that single mistake could cost everything. Here's where it gets even more interesting. Long before people built cities, they learned to control something that changed their chances of survival: fire. Archaeological evidence from Wonderwork Cave in South Africa suggests that early humans were using controlled fire around 1 million years ago. And researchers such as Francesco De Erico have helped us better understand the behavior and technology of early humans through archaeological discoveries. A small fire did more than provide warmth. It gave light. It pushed darkness back. It helped people stay together. It made the night feel a little less uncertain. But the fire couldn't reach very far. Just a few steps beyond the light, there was only darkness. And your brain had to decide one thing. Is it safe, or should I be ready to run? Most of the time, there was no clear answer. So your mind started doing something remarkable. It imagined possibilities before they happened. It rehearsed what to do. It prepared for danger,
even when danger wasn't certain. That wasn't fear, it was preparation. And over thousands of generations, brains that prepared quickly had a better chance of surviving than brains that reacted too late. Think about that for a second. But predators were only part of the story. The biggest survival tool wasn't outside the human body. It was already inside the human mind. And that's where the story takes an unexpected turn. Because the voice inside your head may have become one of the most powerful survival tools humans ever developed.
But here's where the story changes. The danger wasn't only outside, it was inside your head. Imagine you're walking through a forest. You hear something move in the bushes. You stop. Your heart starts beating faster, but you still don't know what made that sound. It could be the wind. It could be another human. Or it could be a hungry predator. Your brain has only a few seconds to decide. So what does it do? Here's where it gets strange. Your brain doesn't wait for perfect information. It makes its best guess, and most of the time, it chooses the safer option. Think about that for a second. If your ancestors heard a sound and assumed it was only the wind, but it turned out to be a lion, they didn't get a second chance. But if they ran away and later discovered it was only the wind, they stayed alive. That tiny difference changed everything. Over thousands of generations, the human brain slowly became better at preparing for danger before danger was even confirmed. Scientists call this a false alarm, and in nature, a false alarm is often much safer than a missed warning. But here's what nobody tells you. The same survival system that protected your ancestors still works inside your brain today. That's why you sometimes imagine the worst before it happens. That's why you replay conversations in your head. That's why you quietly tell yourself, "Don't mess this up," or "Stay calm," or even, "You can do this." You're not talking because you're confused. You're organizing your thoughts. Here's where it gets even more surprising. Psychologist Lev Vygotsky believed that children first learn to talk with other people. Then, as they grow older, those conversations slowly move inside their minds. The voice doesn't disappear, it simply becomes silent. Today, many psychologists call this inner speech. It's one of the tools your brain uses to plan, remember, focus, and solve problems. Think about that for a second. The voice inside your head isn't there to distract you. It's there to help you think. But talking to yourself isn't just about thoughts. Something incredible is happening inside your brain every single time that voice appears. And once scientists looked inside the brain, they discovered something no one expected. So, what actually happens inside your brain when you talk to yourself? Here's where it gets really strange. For years, scientists believed that your inner voice was just silent thinking, but brain scans told a different story. When you quietly speak inside your mind, many of the same brain areas used for real speech become active. One of them is called Broca's area. It helps you produce language, even when you never say a single word out loud. Think about that for a second. Your brain is holding a conversation without making a sound. But that's only part of the story. Another part of your brain is busy making plans, comparing choices, checking memories, and helping you decide what to do next. This is where your prefrontal cortex comes in. You can think of it as your brain's planning center. Every time you remind yourself, "Don't forget your phone," or "Say sorry first," or "Take a deep breath," your brain is helping you prepare before you act. And that's exactly what made this ability so valuable. Here's where it gets even more surprising. Researchers have found that people often perform better on certain tasks when they use self-talk.
Athletes quietly encourage themselves before a difficult moment. Students repeat information to remember it. Even experienced surgeons sometimes talk themselves through complex steps during training. They're not doing it because they're confused. They're doing it because it helps the brain stay focused. Think about that for a second. The voice inside your head isn't getting in the way. Sometimes it's helping you perform at your best. But the brain has another challenge. At night, you become less aware of the world around you. Your vision becomes weaker. Small sounds seem louder. Your imagination starts filling in the missing pieces, and that's when your brain becomes even more careful. Not because darkness is always dangerous, but because uncertainty has always carried risk. For thousands of generations, night was the time when humans were most vulnerable. Your ancestors couldn't simply lock a door, turn on a light, or call for help. Their greatest protection was staying alert, and part of that alert system still lives inside your brain today. Think about that for a second. But this brings up an obvious question. If talking to yourself is so normal, why do some people almost never notice an inner voice at all? And that's where the story takes another unexpected turn.
But this brings up an obvious question. If talking to yourself is so normal, why do some people almost never notice an inner voice? Now, let's address the obvious question here, because it's fair and it deserves a real answer. Some people think everyone experiences their thoughts in exactly the same way, but that's not true. Some people hear a clear voice inside their minds. Some think mostly in pictures. Some switch between both. Researchers like Russell Hurlburt, who spent years studying people's inner experiences, found that the way we think can be surprisingly different from one person to another. Think about that for a second. Different minds, different experiences, but the same human brain. And here's the important part. Not noticing an inner voice doesn't mean something is wrong with you. And talking to yourself doesn't mean something is wrong either. The human brain has more than one way to solve the same problem. That's what makes our species so adaptable. Here's where it gets beautiful. Thousands of years ago, a parent may have quietly reminded themselves, "Stay close to the fire." Today, you quietly remind yourself, "Don't forget the meeting." The situations are completely different, but the brain is doing something surprisingly similar, preparing for what comes next. Ancient firelight, modern phone screens. Both bring light. Almost nothing else is the same. One helped people survive the night together. The other often keeps us awake long after we should be sleeping. The world changed. Our biology changed much more slowly. Think about that for a second. And this is the part that should make you uncomfortable. You live in the safest world humans have ever known, yet your brain still carries systems built for a much more dangerous one. That's why you worry before a big interview. That's why you replay conversations after they end. That's why you quietly encourage yourself before doing something difficult. Your brain isn't trying to make life harder, it's trying to protect you the same way it protected people who lived thousands of generations before you. Which brings us back to where this story began. Tonight, maybe you'll turn off the lights. Maybe you'll be lying in bed. Maybe you'll quietly say, "Everything will be okay." If you do, listen carefully. You're not hearing a mistake. You're hearing one of the oldest tools your mind has ever had. A quiet voice helping you plan, helping you remember, helping you move forward. Next time you catch yourself talking to yourself, don't ask, "What's wrong with me?" Ask, "What is my brain trying to help me do?" Because that quiet voice inside your head helped countless generations of humans survive, learn, adapt, and move forward. And because they never gave up, you're here. Next time you quietly whisper, "Come on, you've got this," remember, that's not weakness. That's thousands of years of human survival speaking through you. And that's your greatest inheritance.